It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island. 'Cause nothing's better than a motion video. Listen now.
It's Movie Time is produced and hosted by John DeSando. Listen to broadcast shows Fridays at 4:01 and 8:01 p.m. and read reviews and listen to shows online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando,
And I'm Mary Yerina.
and this is It's Movie Time. Well, Mary, I've really watched Anna Kendrick for a while, and I'm so pleased with what she has done so far because, and I guess it's just kind of a perverse thought in my mind. She's not a raving beauty. She's just a really good-looking woman, but she's got so much going for her.
Well, she's supremely talented.
Yeah.
She got her start on Broadway at the age of 12.
Yeah.
One of her first major movie roles was Up in the Air with George Clooney, for
Yes,
which she was
good
nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. So she's got some chops.
Oh, she does. She does. I just am so pleased now that she's turned to director, and she has a film out that's on Netflix, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And it's called Woman of the Hour. Set it up for us, Mary.
Well, this is based on the true story of the serial killer Rodney Alcara, who, through circumstances, ended up on the dating show, or the dating game.
Yes.
Sorry, it's a little before my time.
Mid-70s, I remember it well. Supreme Cheese.
Yes, but he ended up as one of the bachelors that a bachelorette questioned and would then pick which one she thought of the three she would want to go on a
Mary.
date on.
You're such a good researcher. Did you find out how this guy ever got on the show? He was already doing his bad stuff.
He was, and he had actually, it's not revealed in the film, but he actually had already served time twice.
Yeah. So how does he get on the show?
So the reason he got on the show was back during that time, they didn't really do any background checks or vet any of the applicants to be on the show. And they suspect, was looking for his next victim.
Right.
And Cheryl Bradshaw, who's played by Anna Kendrick, in addition to her directing, she stars as one of the main characters and potential victims. And it follows her journey more linearly, I would say, than it follows his journey, because we meet her at the beginning of the film where she's auditioning for a role and dealing with the misogyny of the Hollywood industry through her audition process as an aspiring actress. And then we also follow Rodney, not in his linear form, but kind of back and forth at different times where he's picked his victims and is attacking his victims. So there's a confluence between her character and his character of the dating game. And in real life, she did pick him, but she got some weird signals from him after the show.
Yes, right.
And refused to go on a date
Good
with
for
him.
her.
And she probably saved her life.
Oh, she probably did. But a couple of things that I really like. First of all, I thought that the auditions were true to form from everything I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I would say true to form then, but unfortunately there's an element of truth in those even now after the Me Too movement.
Sexism is rampant in the entertainment business, and I think it's gotten better, though the proof is Anna Kendrick is directing a film and starring in it. There's our proof that things have advanced, but just to see how they're treated as objects at the moment that they ask her whether she did nudity or not, and just...
And made really tasteless comments about her breasts.
Yeah, right, yeah, and wow, she's very cool. She takes it, but boy, is that depressing.
Well, very depressing. This is 1978, 79. So things certainly were that was probably more accepted behavior.
Sure.
Openly accepted. I would say it's probably more closeted
Yes.
today, but
Yes,
probably
right.
still occurs. And the thing that I thought was interesting was when I thought about the film overall, even though we have the confluence of these stories coming together, and whether or not she will be one of his victims of the dating, he became known as the dating game killer. It really, she took the perspective as a female director, I think, to show the issue of the objectification of women, not only in her professional life, but then that objectification twisted becomes a serial rapist or a serial killer like Rodney Alcara was.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that this type of script and this type of film was presented through a woman's director's lens.
There you go. And the other point that I thought was so interesting, the dating game itself, is that she turns the tables by writing her own questions, because the questions she's given are positively inane. And
well, they're inane, but they're intended to be kind of cornballish and alluding to sexuality.
Yes, right.
And she's an intelligent. We learned that Cheryl is a graduate of Columbia, acting, her degree in acting.
Right.
And her agent books her on this and convinces her to do it to give her exposure, because she's not having much success trying to audition for parts. And so she plays along up to a point.
Yeah, she does.
And then shows her intelligence and her wit and her no-holds-bar, I'm not going to take any guff from these men if I'm going to try and pick one of them to go on a date. So.
Well, after she asked her questions, the moderator, Ed, Tony Hale, dispatches her immediately.
Oh,
Didn't
yes.
want any more
Well,
of her.
and he's part of the objectification
Whoa.
of women. He walks in, the host of the dating game walks into her hair and makeup room while she's getting all of that done, and immediately starts passing judgment on her appearance and says, is that the dress you're wearing? No, you're not going to wear that. You're going to wear something else. And really tries to keep her in her place and put her in her place, and is very offended when she does start asking the intelligent, quick-witted questions, and immediately wants her banished from the studio as soon as the show is done.
Right.
I mean, he is a total pig, and I have no doubt that game show hosts like that during that era, he probably is stereotypical of that time.
Oh my God. But just to listen to them, did I actually watch that? I probably watched it, not often, but saw it once or twice, but not aware how positively grim that whole event was.
Well, I was but a child, so fortunately I didn't have to be subjected to the dating game. But it's used as yet another vehicle, as I said, to show the objectification of women. It's bad enough when it's affecting her as a professional actress, but then again to have it twisted in the eyes of somebody like Rodney Alcara is where it becomes dangerous, and in this case, life-threatening.
So Mary, he doesn't look to me like the most attractive guy who ever lived. He's got stringy, long, dark hair and kind of a round face, and I'm trying to think, what is it about him that makes him so successful?
Well, I thought it was interesting. Daniel Zavato, who plays the role of Rodney, is much better looking than they showed in the film. And I think I don't know this, but to me it came across as, because this is shown through the woman's eyes, and there's not a great delving into the psychology, which is often the case with these types of films, of the perpetrator.
Right.
And so you can understand, I mean, he's not bad looking, he comes across as genial, he was very intelligent. He actually served in the military and had an IQ of like 135.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's shown from the perspective of, you can see why women trusted him and believed in him.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I liked the fact that they didn't make him super good looking.
Yes.
And I liked the fact that there wasn't any of the like close up on his face of
Sure. No,
you know,
yeah.
his eyes twitching or
Yes.
you know, anything when he's deciding on a victim. So I really appreciated that. It showed probably what a lot of the women and apparently even some young men felt victim to him because of that.
Yeah.
He was approachable
And what I could guess from that, he appeared willing to listen to their story, and he encourages them to tell it without interrupting and just kind of accepting it. And I suspect that was a great calling card for him, is that he wasn't pushing himself on them at all. Now, what he has is seduction there in that spectacular opening scene out in the desert in Wyoming.
Yes.
What there? If you want to know that she's a great director, the way she handles that is just perfect. And I'm standing there watching, nowhere knowing, so we bring the baggage in. We know what's going to happen. But the young actress is just wants to be discovered. And she figures that because he's a photographer and he may promote her photographs, that she's willing to go where, you know, I think most women would not go, out in the middle of Wyoming
Alone.
with the one guy,
Alone with a man you don't really know.
Yeah, with a man you don't know. Isn't that?
Yeah, and what I also liked, one of my hesitations when you asked me to review the film, because I had seen a preview of it and I knew what it was about.
Yeah, okay.
Was, you know, just the gratuitous violence, the gratuitous sex, the gratuitous view of the victims. And more the focus on, as I said, the perpetrator, and that's really not the case. Even so, I thought as a director, Anna Kendrick handled it very differently than a typical male director would have for this type of story, in that she really focused on the victims, not the violence. And you see it's implied certainly, but you see very little of the true horror that I'm sure he inflicted on his victims.
One of the reasons that I really think she's a promising director is she cuts away on most of that. She does not indulge us with this ridiculous reality business.
Gratuitous.
Yeah, the best she does is to show him put his hands around the neck in that first scene. And then you know it's real trouble.
Yeah,
we knew that anyway.
And it's believed he's had over 100 victims.
Can you believe that?
But in this film, they only highlight 4 or 5.
Right.
And all of them are based on true occurrences. And fortunately, one of whom was a young runaway, Monique, who I won't tell you what happened.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's wait, because we do have a podcast coming up. We do have Back Talk coming up.
We do have
and
Back Talk
I think
coming up.
what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is to look at a few sexist movies. All right, see if we can't dredge up some to kind of contrast with what she's done here. But Mary, we do have Anna Kendrick's new film called Woman of the Hour. And what do you suggest for our audience?
I think as a first-time effort from this director, there's a lot to recommend it. It's not perfect. It's on Netflix, and I think you should check it out.
I know, right? You're reminding me, Netflix always goes soft anyway. You're not gonna, you gotta get cruising realities with Netflix.
Probably not.
It's movie time with John DeSando and his friends online. So everything is gonna be just fine. From the top down to the bottom. He's gonna let you know if you should stay home or if you should go. Might even yell if it's a spectacle. From San Francisco to Long Island.